welcome back to the Mad Science Lab. Today, Jeremy, the boys, and I have decided we wanted to make some really cool oxygen molecules. They look pretty cool, kind of like little fences. But right now, these molecules are floating all around us. In fact, we breathe them in every day, all the time. And you probably haven't even ever thought about it. So let's hold our breath until you can't hold it anymore. So 3, 2, 1. Oh, mad scientists, I wasn't able to go for very long. How long did you last? 10 seconds? 15 seconds? Ugh, and it felt horrible beyond that. That's how important oxygen is to us. Oxygen is important to all living things, including us humans. So, in this lesson, we'll learn what is oxygen, the never-ending cycle in which oxygen is made, and its uses and importance to all the living things on Earth. So, let's start by answering the question, what is oxygen? Well, oxygen, or O2, is a colorless and odorless gas that's about 20% of the air's composition. Scientists use symbols to stand for the chemical elements. The symbol for oxygen is a capital O. It is one of the main elements that make up air, and it's necessary for the survival of all plants and animals on Earth. So, let's make an O2 molecule to demonstrate what an oxygen molecule looks like. Let's get right to it. All right, mad scientists, here's what we're going to need in order to make our very own oxygen molecule model. First, we'll need some paint, 2 styrofoam balls, 2 skewers, a paintbrush, and somewhere to hold your paint. I'll be using a paper clip. So, here's what we're gonna do. First, start by painting our oxygen molecules. Awesome. Now, going to poke the other half, and then, nice and snug, just like that. And now I'm gonna paint this other one blue too. And just like that, we have our very own oxygen molecule model. So check this out. We have one oxygen molecule and a second oxygen molecule, and then these 2 skewers represent the covalent bond that holds them together and makes oxygen oxygen. It's also why oxygen is also called O2, because it's 2 oxygen molecules that make up our model. That's pretty cool, and a really neat way to see the oxygen molecules that are floating all around us. Pretty neat, wouldn't you say? But we're not done talking about oxygen just yet. Let's get to talking about its properties. So, mad scientists, in its free state, oxygen is a gas without color, odor, or taste. Oxygen combines easily with many other elements to form substances called compounds. The most common compound is water, which is 2 parts hydrogen and 1 part oxygen, like shown right here. Let's do a simple demonstration of how we can split O2 and H2 from water. This process is called electrolysis. Although it may sound complicated, it's actually easy to do using common at-home items. Here's what you're gonna need. Some water, a glass, 2 pencils, a tablespoon, a 9-volt battery, ionized salt, and we're also gonna need some cardboard. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start by taking our glass and pouring in about a cup of warm water. Then we're gonna take our salt, we're gonna add a tablespoon. We'll go ahead and mix. Now, your water might be a little bit cloudy, but that's okay. We're gonna go ahead and set that to the side and let that settle. And while we do that, we're gonna prep the rest of our experiment. So, using our 9-volt battery, we're gonna put the battery pack right on top, like so. Next, I'm gonna stab 2 holes into our cardboard, like so. And we want our pencils to be close by each other. So there we go. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and set my cardboard on top like this. Now I'm going to take my first alligator clip, going to take my black wire, going to attach my alligator clip to it. And then I'm going to take the other half of my alligator clip and I'm going to attach it to the graphite. And then I'm going to repeat the process with my second pencil. This time I'm going to take my white alligator clip and I'm going to attach it to the end of my red wire. And then I'm going to attach the other end of the alligator clip to the other half, the graphite with my second pencil. Now, mad scientists, if you can look really closely, you can see that we're starting to see, check this out. Can you see those bubbles? That's right. This is electrolysis. We're splitting O2 and H2 from water. Whoa, check that out. This one has a lot of bubbles attached to the bottom, and this one has a lot of bubbles coming up. Although it's super simple, it's a really great way to demonstrate producing oxygen from water, which is a compound that uses oxygen. I think this is awesome, mad scientists, and something that you can easily do from home. But we're not done talking about oxygen just yet, so let's keep on. All right, mad scientists, now let's talk about the oxygen cycle. Oxygen is constantly being used and created by different processes on planet Earth, but primarily by the process of photosynthesis. The oxygen cycle is interconnected with the carbon cycle. In the simple example of the oxygen cycle shown here, oxygen is used and cycled by plants and animals. Plants are the main creators of oxygen in the atmosphere through the process of photosynthesis. Here, the trees use sunlight and carbon dioxide to produce energy and release oxygen. The giraffe will then breathe in the oxygen and then breathes out carbon dioxide. The plant can then use the carbon dioxide and the cycle is complete. So, mad scientists, let's take a look at an example of a plant creating oxygen through photosynthesis through an activity that we can do right here. All we're going to need is a clear cup, a leaf, and some water, as well as a sunny spot that we can put our experiment in. So we'll start by filling up our clear cup with water, and then at the very top we'll put our leaf so it just sits on top of the water like so. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a guess. What do you think the water will look like after an hour in the sun? I don't know, mad scientists. I think we'll see some oxygen. But we'll have to wait and see. Find a place where your leaf can be exposed to direct sunlight for at least an hour, and then check back, and we'll see what happens. So, see you in about an hour. So, mad scientists, let's talk about different ways that we use oxygen. The first and most important is that we use the oxygen for breathing. Take a deep breath and then breathe out. All living things breathe through a process called respiration. Oxygen is breathed in and carbon dioxide is then breathed out. The second important use for oxygen is decomposing. Oxygen is also used when plants and animals die and decompose. This process uses up oxygen and releases carbon dioxide. Another use for oxygen is through rusting. Chemical reactions such as the formation of rust, called oxidization, use oxygen. Take a look at junk cars left outside in the rain. They become rusty. When rusting occurs, it oxidizes or uses up oxygen. Another use for oxygen is through combustion or the formation of fire. There are three things needed for fire: oxygen, fuel, and heat. Without oxygen, you can't have a fire. When things burn, they use up oxygen and replace it with carbon dioxide. And for other uses, scientists have also learned how to use oxygen in other ways. For example, oxygen is used in certain manufacturing processes. Doctors can give patients pure oxygen when the patient needs more than they can get from the air, and liquid oxygen is used as fuel in rockets. Pretty cool. But let's talk about combustion and fire, and do a little experiment with oxygen and combustion. Let's get right to it.